So, my dear students, good morning, Jasila. Again, something from psychology. Good morning, Manju. I just want to ask you whether all of you have got some timetable in your life, whether all of you have got some scheduling in your life, or how many of you have got some timetable, or how many of you use some timetable in your life for arranging different works. For example, 2 hours for psychology, 2 hours for philosophy, 2 hours for some leisure activities, 2 hours for reading, 6 hours for 8 hours for sleeping, something like that. Good morning, Rosina. So, how many of you have got such a tendency, keeping some timetable, some schedule in your life? Tell me, how many of you? You can just tell or you can just type. Yes. Let me know. Yes. Let me know how many of you keep some timetable. You can just type it. No one. I think there must be some people who are keeping some timetable, who are preparing some timetable, at least during the time of examination. Yes? So just tell me. Yes, Sayuja tells that she always keeps some timetable during the exam time. Right, Sayuja, thank you. Thank you for your quick response. Anyone else? Sakala. Yes, Sakala also tells that at times during the exam time, yeah, she keeps some timetable or some schedules. Just for making the study systematic, because you have got different papers and you have to distribute equal hours, or you have to distribute hours for different papers on the basis of the difficulty level of different papers. Yes. So Sayuja is there, then Sahala also keeps some timetable during the exam time. Anyone else? Tell me or let me know by typing in your chat box. And Wasim, plan the timetable sometimes but doesn't work. It's something interesting. And this is also so at times during my childhood days also we plan all the things. We used to plan all the things, but it does not work. I have written an article in one of the college magazines when I was working at Marcus Training College on timepiece. Yes, there is time. The device which we use, timepiece. Yes, yeah. So we at times we use some timepiece, but we just get up from sleep and just switch off the timepiece, and again we will sleep. So it's something interesting, Wasim. So anyone else? So I think most of you may be having such a practice in your life. And yes, Shahnas, I used to make one during my school days, especially on the first day of every academic year. Yes, yes. On the first day we would prepare a timetable, but I think Shahnas wants to tell us that it was not working. Yes, but I hardly follow it. So this is again a practice, but I think most of you keep some timetable. And at educational institutions, we always keep some timetable. Otherwise, there will be some clash between the teachers. Yes, if there is no timetable, and if 3 or 4 teachers come together to the classroom, and I think you will reply that it will never happen. If there is no timetable, no teacher will come to the class. Yes, teachers teachers come to the class only because there is timetable. Otherwise, all the teachers will be sitting inside the staff room, just thinking that another teacher will go to the classroom. So this is a practice, creating timetable, creating schedules, and is something desirable, because if we keep some schedules, if we keep some timetable, it will make our life more systematic and more successful, and we can distribute time for different activities in our life. I have seen some people when I was a PG student, MA English student at Farooq College. There was one of my friends, Abdul Ghafoor. He was from Lakshadweep, and he once told me that at his home, his father always used to compel them, force all the children to keep an item at a particular place. And if anyone of the home takes something from a particular place, then he or she had to refix it at the same place. For example, if you take a pen from the place which is allotted to pen, you should just fix it back at that particular place after using the pen. So Ghafoor was keeping some systematic scheduling or systematic timetable or systematic arrangements for different activities at our hostel, and it is hardly occurring at hostels. So it's a fact that most of the people or some of the people are keeping some timetable, or we are having some timetable. Now, have you ever thought of a natural timetable? Let me know. A natural timetable. Have you ever thought a timetable which is used by us unknowingly? Can anyone answer this question? A natural timetable, a timetable created by nature itself, or a timetable created by Almighty God, a timetable created by some supernatural power if you are a believer of God, a supernatural power. A natural timetable which works in our life without any intention or without any sort of planning. And then Samira, sleeping during night time. Okay, it's a wonderful answer. Yes, it's an interesting answer. Each one of us would have to sleep even if there is no timetable, because even if we are not deciding to sleep, at times, yes, Rafsina tells about wake up early in the morning, yes. So even if we are not deciding about sleeping after a particular time, yes, Muhammad Wasim has told climate cycle, then Shahnas has told about biological timetable, yes. So I may come back. So these are some wonderful answers. She told about sleeping, because even if we are not sleeping to an extent, for example, if we are not sleeping till 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, most of us will fall asleep after after a particular span of time in the night time. And nowadays it is not there, because most of the people are playing some video games uh, throughout the night time, and they just start sleeping in the morning. There are some exceptional cases, youngsters, and she has told about biological timetable. Some people keep some biological timetable, and then we wake up at early morning. At times we are not waking up at early morning, we will be there, but we just wake up unknowingly at the early morning. After that we continue our sleeping. If we are lazy, if we are idle, if we are not interested to do anything in the morning. And Wasim has told about climate as a wonderful answer, as a beautiful timetable created by the Almighty. And one of the people whom you know, because about him we learned something during the last online class. None else but Piaget. According to Piaget, in human life there is a natural timetable, and this timetable is known as, let me present the PowerPoint presentation, just wait there. Can anyone tell the answer? What is the name of that particular natural timetable? What title is given to that particular timetable by Piaget? Does any one of you know? Tell me. No? You can type it there. Otherwise I will go. Or I will show you. Yes? Yes, are you able to see? Yes? Are you able to see? I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I will show it again. There is some technical errors. I'm waiting for you. Any one of you can tell about it. You can just tell. Just wait there, I will present it. I'm sorry, just wait there. So can anyone tell the name of that natural timetable? I may present the item, sorry. Now, are you able to see the presentation? Yes? Tell me. Yes? Tell me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. It is, what is the name of that natural timetable? Just look at the screen. Just look at the screen and tell me. Yes? genetic epistemology. Yes. So according to Piaget, there is some natural timetable created by God himself or nature itself, and that is known as genetic epistemology. So we will just look at this genetic epistemology, the concept of genetic epistemology, right? What is this genetic epistemology? We can look. Jean Piaget viewed that there is a timetable created by nature itself for the development of all human beings, which is general to all and consists of different stages of common characteristics. This timetable is known as genetic epistemology. It's a wonderful concept by Piaget. Maybe some exceptional cases are there, but Piaget observed the activities of different children at his home during different life stages, and he reached a conclusion that all the human beings keep some natural timetable or natural scheduling in their life activities during different stages. It is there in the gene of each person, and unknowingly we follow the timetable. So itself it is known as genetic epistemology. And again, I feel that you might have learned something about these different stages during the first semester, because in the psychology paper for the first semester also this topic is included, right? Can you tell me different stages of life according to Piaget? Yes, Shahnas tells yes. Then just tell me that for different stages. Yes, you can just tell me that for different stages. Yes, tell me. Yes, sensory motor stage, then yes,
Preoperational stage,
pre-operational stage, yeah,
concrete operational stage,
yes, concrete operational stage, yeah,
formal operational stage.
yeah. So you can just look there. There are 4 stages as a part of this genetic epistemology according to Piaget, and they are sensory motor stage, pre-operational stage, concrete operational stage, and formal operational stage. And Piaget feels that these 4 stages are there in the life of each and every human being in this world. Maybe some exceptional cases because of some problems in the brain, or because of some lack of sensory training during the childhood days, or because of some illness during the childhood days, or because of some hereditary problems during the childhood days. Maybe some exceptional cases, but most of the human beings keep these 4 stages in the life. So itself it is known as genetic epistemology. Unknowingly we follow it. We cannot tell that we will not follow it. This is a part of the growth and development And you might have learned about the concept of growth and development during the first semester in the psychology paper. The something which happens physically is known as growth, and something which happens mentally is known as development. So during different stages of our life, we have got some growth and we have got some development. And according to different psychologists, this development, the style of development, the nature of development is common in all the human beings. Or you can just look at the features of different stages. The first stage is sensory motor stage. Are you able to read the item? Yes? Yes? Are you able to read it? Is it visible?
Sir.
Is it
Yes, sir.
visible? Yes, it is visible, yes.
Yes.
So during the sensory motor stage, it is from birth to 2 years, right? Child tries to master his own innate physical reactions by which he indulges in some interesting activities. The child, during this period, sees himself as a separate physical object and recognizes that the items around him also have a separate and stable existence. Here there is no representation of items. He sees everything as a physical object. He sees itself. The child sees itself as a separate physical object. He or she sees his mother as a separate physical object. He or she sees his father as a separate object. He or she sees a ball as a separate object, and she or he doesn't know it is a ball. But he knows that it's a separate physical object. Am I right? Are you able to follow me? Yes? Is it right? Because you learned this one during the first semester. Yes? Yeah, there is no representation of items during this stage. And you might have learned about the concept of object consistency or object permanence. Did you learn it during the first semester? Let me know. Yes, what is this object permanence or object consistency? Is there any difference between these two items? Tell me, is there any difference between these two? Out of sight is out of mind, yeah? What does it mean, Shahanas? What is out of sight is out of our mind. What does it mean? Please explain. What does it mean? If you can tell, you can tell. Just switch on your microphone and just tell me, what does it mean? Yes. At which age this happens? Lack of.
Out of sight.
Yeah.
During the stage
Yeah.
up to 2 years,
Yeah.
the child cannot remember the person who is not in front of him.
Yeah, you're right. It's a wonderful answer. Actually, during the first stage of life, birth to 2 years, the child never gets the concept of object permanence or object consistency. And see, these two terms are same. there was a question before 4 or 5 years, so I think before 2 or 3 years, for two mark questions, in the section of 2 mark questions, what is the difference between object permanence and object consistency? Actually, the question paper setter was not keeping any clear-cut idea on the concept. Object permanence is object consistency. These are two terms used by Piaget just for telling about the same thing. And there is no difference between object permanence and object consistency. It is a term. You can make use of object permanence or object consistency. During the first stage of life, the child never gets this object consistency or object permanence, and it is gained by the child during the second stage of life or at the age of 2 years. The second stage is preoperational stage. It starts at 2 and ends at 6 or 7, maybe at 6 or 7. And this is when child starts to approach the environment symbolically. Unlike the earlier stage where only physical representation occurs, here he starts to approach things mentally. He starts thinking. It is at this stage he starts using words for representing objects. See, during the first stage of life, that is sensory motor stage, when he sees a ball, he knows that it's an object. It's a separate object just like himself or herself. But he or she does not know that it's a ball, because that mental capacity is not there during the first stage of life. But during the second stage, he or she starts naming the objects. When he or she sees a ball, he or she tells it's a ball. So this is happening during the second stage, pre-operational stage. And at this stage of life, or at the age of 2, a person acquires object consistency or object permanence. You can just write object consistency or object permanence. And you are writing, yes, object consistency or object permanence. Object consistency or object permanence is the ability of a person, to think that an object is still existing. An object is still existing. An object is still existing even when it is with him, at present. Even when it is not with him, even when it is not with him at present. It is the ability of a person to think that something is there, maybe at any other location, even when it is not before him. And this object consistency or object permanence is acquired only after becoming 2 years. For example, before becoming 2 years old, the child would start crying when he or she does not see his or her mother. When the mother disappears, he or she feels that the mother is no more. They cannot recognize or they cannot realize that the mother is there but at any other location. And this ability can be acquired by a person only after becoming 2 years or only at the age of 2 years, according to Piaget. And this concept is object permanence or object consistency. I think you have got ideas, right? Yes? Alright, yes? You got ideas? Tell me, just type your answer.
Yes, sir.
So, the matter is that if a child cries when the mother or father is moving from his side even after 4 or 5 years, it shows that he has got some developmental problem according to Piaget. It is not my view, according to Piaget. Normally, each and every child would get the capacity called object permanence or object consistency at the age of 2. So this is something called object permanence or object consistency. Then the third stage is from 6 or 7 to 11 or 12 years, concrete operational stage. And this is the beginning stage of logical thinking. Means simple logical thinking, not deep logical thinking, not intact logical thinking, simple logical thinking. The child becomes able to categorize things on the basis of similarities and differences. During the first stage, physical objects. During the second stage, they start naming physical objects. And during the third stage, they start comparing and contrasting. For example, if they get a ball and a bat, they will tell that the ball is round, the bat is not round. The ball is moving, the bat is not moving. They start learning how to compare and differentiate items. Simple logical thinking starts here. They start thinking in a different manner. They start thinking by using their reasoning, simple reasoning power. You can see this one in your children. And nowadays, I think this is not something existing nowadays, because now children get logical thinking even before 7 years. Because I always observe my children, and my younger child is now 3 years old, and he asked some questions by comparing. He has got a tricycle, and his cousin has got a bicycle, and he will tell that his tricycle hasn't got any stand, but his cousin's bicycle has got stand. So they start comparing and contrasting during the childhood days itself. Nowadays, Piaget introduced this theory, I think, before years. Still, it is there. We have to learn this one. Maybe it's correct or not. Yes. So this is the beginning stage of logical thinking. Only after becoming 7 years or 6 years, a person starts thinking logically. Simple logical thinking according to Piaget. Now we can just move to the fourth stage of life, and this is formal operational stage. It starts from 11 or 12, And here, this is the stage of systematic thinking. And here they start getting mastery in different concepts and mental experimentation. Sorry, there is some typing mistake. Experimentation, mental experimentation. And here comes the stage of accurate logical thinking. Here comes the stage of deep logical thinking. Here they just start thinking about different things, they just start exploring different items, they just think in a different manner, they just start thinking in a divergent manner, we tell it creativity. They start seeing items in a different manner, they start approaching items in a different manner which is not used by his or her parents or teachers. And see, this is the stage where we can see students are 5 standard or 6 standard, children are 5 standard or 6 standard students, and during this stage we start child-centered education or issue-based education. I feel 7 standard or 8 standard. So this is the stage of accurate or systematic logical thinking. So this is genetic epistemology. This is there in the life of each and every human being according to Piaget. And see, the class is not over. This is something about the theory put forth by Piaget. During the last working day or during the last online class given by myself, we just learned schematic theory put forth by Piaget, but the class was not over because we had to discuss the educational implications of the theory put forth by Piaget. We learn all the psychological theories not just for knowing about the psychological theories, but just for knowing whether these psychological theories are applicable in our teaching, whether these psychological theories are applicable in the educational field. So let's just think about the educational implications of genetic epistemology. Are you ready? Yes? आप लोग तैयार है क्या? बोलिए बोलिए. Yes. Thank you, Anjana.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So, can anyone give some educational implications? During the last class, some of you gave the educational implications of schematic theory even before I told it. I told the educational implications. Can you tell me the educational implications of genetic epistemology? And see, we should arrange educational activities on the basis of growth and development, on the basis of different psychological theories, and this is a part of cognitive development. According to Piaget, learning is something called something cognitive. It's a cognitive process. It is not a mechanical process. It is not a behaviorist process. It is not a mechanical process, but it's a cognitive process. Everyone can learn anything only by meaningfully. If you learn something, you should understand it. You should use your logical thinking capacity. Then only you can learn something. See, formal operational stage you have seen here. During this stage, actually, we get some capacity to think logically in a systematic manner. So you can teach something which needs logical thinking, deep logical thinking, only after the child becomes 11 or 12 years old. So just tell me the educational implications, if you can guess. I mean, if you can make an intelligent guessing, or if you can infer, if you can look at the points which we have told here. So appropriate curriculum can be set as per the cognitive development of children. Okay, you are right. We should, when we are preparing a curriculum, nowadays I have seen this one. Yes, Muhammad Wasim, by understanding each stage of intellectual development is helpful to provide learning. So that means I have told you in your classrooms that when there is a curriculum committee nowadays, the curriculum committee just would sit there and they would just search online and they would just select some topics and some items. Yes, and they will include all the items just by copying from online. It is not right. When you prepare a curriculum, you should look at the concepts, psychological theories. So when you prepare a curriculum for students, you should look at their abilities. So on the nature of their intellectual development, as these people taught. And I may look at some message. Then Rosina has told that through this stage, the child reach the appropriate stage, then the teacher able to teach certain concept. Okay, we should look at different abilities of children. There is something in Malayalam, Tumbiye kondu kalledupikka. Yes, Tumbiye kondu kalledupikka. That means if you teach a first year or a first standard student something you have to teach to a fifth standard student, it will be creating problems. So I may just look at some points which I have written there. Educational implications of genetic epistemology. These people have given some wonderful answers, right? During the sensory motor stage, the child should be made contact physically with a variety of objects without imposing him to utter their names. During this stage, children do not get any idea of the names. But the matter is that parents should show almost all the items during this stage. Different objects. Just for making the children acquainted with the objects. He or she knows that these are some physical objects, but there should be an acquaintance with these objects and never impose them to utter the names. You can tell the names, okay? Well, when you give him or her a ball, you can tell it is a ball, but you should never impose them or force them to utter the name during this stage of life. Because they haven't got that capacity. You should never impose anything on your children without looking at their capacity, because it will be creating some demotivation. It will demotivate your children. So during the sensory motor stage, I mean from birth to 2 years old, almost all the objects, almost all the pictures of different objects, almost all the images of different objects should be shown to your children. And during the pre-operational child, you can just start names of different objects. You can just make them utter. You should utter the names of different objects, and you should make them utter different objects, different types of objects. You should show them cat. You should show them dog. Then during the next stage of life, they would start comparing these items. So it is again something important. You should start naming the objects. I feel that during the fourth, I think at 4, we just start lower kindergarten. And at lower kindergarten, we always teach them names, not sentences. But in some schools nowadays, people have started teaching sentences. Actually, it is illogical. It's illogical. You never you should never teach sentences during this stage. You can teach names. So that is the proper method of teaching. Then comes during the concrete operational stage, the child should be encouraged to classify and differentiate things. And here you can give them simple problems to be solved, not complicated problems, but simple problems. You can give them two items together, just give a bat and ball and just tell them to compare and contrast. You can show a butterfly and you can show a flower and just ask them to tell the differences, to tell the similarities. So this should be done during the third stage of life, and only after reaching the age of 11 or 12 years, a person should be made intelligent, abstract thinking and more logical interpreting. And see, in the paper Language Across Curriculum, which we dealt during the first semester, we told about some myths and realities. In one of the myths, we just told that there is a myth that younger children are better language learners, and people who have made some studies tell that it is a myth. It's a wrong concept. Actually, elder people are able to learn language in a better manner because language learning needs logical thinking. And on the basis of this concept, according to Piaget, you can teach a second language to a child only after becoming 10 years or 11 years, because it needs systematic thinking. I think this is a true concept, because most of the students who are getting admitted in English medium schools are not able to communicate well in English language, because they just get an admission there in the English medium schools and they just start uttering some words and sentences told by the teachers without knowing about the logic behind different sentences. So they do not know the difference between had and has. They do not know the difference between different items, different functional items. So even after learning in some English medium schools, students are not able to communicate well in English language. And this is a fact. This is a fact. And according to Piaget, this happens because you just force children to learn a second language even before they become capable of learning a second language. So it needs systematic thinking. Learning a different language, learning a language other than your mother tongue needs systematic, logical thinking according to Piaget. And this one you will see in the case of multilingual education. So I will tell something about multilingual education later, which is there in your first semester paper, Contemporary Indian Education. And together with this, the points given by Shahnaz, then Wasim and Rafsina. Whenever you select a curriculum, whenever you prepare a curriculum, you should think about the capacities of the children. And on the basis of the capacities of the children, you should select topics for different subjects. Maybe for languages, maybe for mathematics, maybe for physics, maybe for chemistry, maybe for geography, maybe for social sciences. You should select an item only after thinking about the capacity of the students. And this is why we tell that when a person is going to prepare a curriculum, or when the government is going to prepare a curriculum committee, the government should select the members of the curriculum committee only after checking their psychological knowledge. And at the same time, a teacher should know about different aspects of growth and development and different psychological theories. Then only he or she can teach anything and everything in the classroom in an effective manner. So this is something about genetic epistemology. So I just want to stop this English class here, and we can continue the class in the mother tongue. Before that, I just want to stop the recording, right?